Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch action genre movie called Rumble in the Bronx. Spoilers ahead. Turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. The film begins with Kung, a police officer from Hong Kong who has traveled to the United States to attend his Uncle Bill's wedding. Uncle Bill arrives at the airport to pick him up, and on the way, he tells Kung that he lives in the Bronx and owns the Waha supermarket. Young discovers that the Bronx has a high level of crime. Young notices a lot of picture frames of his family on the way to Uncle Bill's house. Uncle Bill says he'll take Kung to the market to meet his fiancée. Kung discovers the Wing Chun wooden dummy at Bill's house and immediately begins karate practice. Danny, a disabled Chinese-American boy who lives next door to Uncle Bill, arrives to greet Kung. After that, Uncle Bill and Kung assisted Danny in getting on the school bus before it left. Kung gives Danny his old video game, which delights him. In the following scene, Uncle Bill takes Kung to his supermarket, where he discovers that it is being renovated because Uncle Bill plans to sell it soon. Kung meets a Chinese woman in the market and believes she is Uncle Bill's fiancée. But Bill arrives and informs him that the woman is not his fiancée, but a saleswoman named Tina Chung, who will also be assisting with Uncle Bill's wedding arrangements. Uncle Bill then introduces his fiancée, Whitney, to Kung, who is taken aback because Bill's fiancée is obese. Whitney is overjoyed to meet Kung and tells him that Bill has told her a lot about him. Following that, Bill meets a potential buyer, Elaine, in his office, which has a one-way mirror. Elaine is hesitant to buy the supermarket at Bill's price, so he lowers it. While working in the supermarket, Kung comes across the one-way mirror and does amusing things without realizing Elaine is watching him from inside the office. While Elaine agrees to purchase the market, she notices Kung, who is standing on the other side of the mirror and thinks he is very attractive. After some time, Kung enters the office to inform Bill of his friend Steven's arrival and is embarrassed to discover that Elaine has been watching him through the mirror. Bill runs into Steven, who has come to borrow his boss's car for his wedding. Uncle Bill invites Elaine to his wedding just as she is about to leave. Tomorrow is the day. Elaine appears to be content, and she accepts his invitation at night. Outside the apartment, Kung notices a local biker gang. He rushes outside to protect Steven's car, which is about to be destroyed by the bikers during a. The next scene begins at Bill and Whitney's wedding, where Kung sits next to Elaine and offers to assist her with the supermarket's work because he will be staying in the United States for an extended period of time. Uncle Bill is relieved to learn of Kang's decision because he is about to depart with Whitney for their honeymoon. The next day, Uncle Bill pays a visit to Kung with his wife and hands him some papers to be signed by Elaine in the following scene. While Kung is assisting Elaine in the office, they notice some members of a local biker gang attempting to shoplift a large amount of merchandise from. Elaine approaches one of the gang members named Angelo at the counter and asks him to pay for the items he just shoplifted. When Angelo misbehaves with her, a Chinese gang member appears and throws some of the merchandise near the counter. Young appears at that precise moment. He defeats and beats them all, resulting in Angelo's busted nose. Elaine and the other workers then commend Kung for confronting the local bikers. Elaine appears to care about. Then, on his way back from the supermarket, Young notices some guys enticing a girl named Nancy while holding the contract file. He is following them and warning them. To his surprise, Nancy and the guys turn out to be members of the local biker gang led by Tony. They had actually lured him to that location in order to exact their vengeance. Tony and his gang members force Kung into a dead end and assault him with glass bottles. When Angelo tries to shoot at him, one of the group members named Lisa tries but fails. Nancy becomes enraged. She assaults Angelo and flees with Tony, who pursues her. Nancy is Danny's elder sister, we learn next. She discovers him playing a video game and learns that it was given to them by their neighbor's nephew, Kung, unaware that Kung is the one she duped. Nancy goes outside to dispose of the garbage when she comes across the injured Kung and hears his groans. Danny also appears and discovers Kung, who then passes out on them. Kung awakens in his apartment the next morning to find Danny, who informs him that his sister has treated and dressed his wounds, but Kung is still unaware that Nancy is the one who lured him. The previous night, he stands up and informs him that he needs to go to the supermarket to inform Elaine that he lost the contract during the brawl with the gang on his way there. Tony and his gang members are following Kung. Again, he tries to flee them and ends up in a parking lot, where he eventually escapes the gang. Then we see White Tiger, a gangster who has a diamond deal with a couple of guys. The gang leader, Tony, is Nancy's boyfriend, and he drops her off at her apartment. Meanwhile, Kung and Danny are seen approaching the apartment. Just then, Angelo, who is nearby Nancy's apartment, notices two cars colliding. He dashes forward and grabs a briefcase from one of the dying men in the car. White Tiger's gang members are after the diamonds and are pursuing Angelo, Kung, and Danny, so they hide in the apartment hallway. Danny is picked up by Kung and the wheelchair is left in the hallway. Meanwhile, Angelo conceals the diamonds in Danny's wheelchair cushion and attempts to flee, but is apprehended by White Tiger's gang members who pose as cops while asking Angelo for the diamonds. Police officers appear and arrest them, along with some other syndicate members. Kung transports Danny back to the apartment where Nancy is hiding. Kyung, Nancy has surprised and delighted Danny by purchasing a new cushion for his WH. Nancy enters the living room after hearing Danny is embarrassed about his disability and apologizes to Danny and Kung. Danny is surprised to learn that Kung and Nancy already know each other, but Kung refuses to let Nancy tell her brother how they met. Then Danny sits on the new wheelchair cushion, and everyone unknowingly ignores the diamond-encrusted cushion. The police investigate Angelo and the White Tiger's gang, but they do not reveal anything. As a result of the lack of evidence at night, they are released. Angelo appears near the apartment in search of the diamond-encrusted cushion but does not enter. White Tiger's gang members are also looking for those diamonds in the apartment hallway. They also question Kung, introducing themselves as the FBI, but Kung claims to be unaware of the incident that occurred that day. The scene shifts to a bar where Kyung has gone to meet Nancy, who dances there for money. When one of Tony's gang members notices Kyung with Nancy, he informs Tony and the rest of the gang follows. However, the pair escapes on Nancy's bike. Later that night, Nancy approaches Kyung and initiates their relationship. The following day, Tony and his gang members cause damage to the supermarket, believing it belongs to Kyung. Members of White Tiger's gang then appear and select a couple of Tony's gang members. Meanwhile, Angelo tries to grab Danny's wheelchair cushion but fails and flees. White Tiger's men beat up Tony's men, forcing them to tell them about Angelo, who has gone missing and has not informed the rest of Tony's gang. Lance, one of the members, is killed by White Tiger's men. Kyung arrives at the damaged supermarket and meets Elaine, who regrets purchasing the market after learning how frequently it is a victim of theft and protection. Racket was enraged. Kyung approaches Nancy, who takes him to Tony, who fights with Kyung. Tony loses the fight and asks Kyung to leave his place. Just then, one of the gang members who had been held captive by White Tiger's men appears, carrying Lance's body. He informs Tony that White Tiger's men are on the lookout for Angelo. Kung decides to enlist the help of the FBI, who are actually White Tiger's agents. Tony locates Angelo, who recognizes the men as White Tiger's gang members rather than FBI. He admits to hitting the diamonds in Danny's wheelchair cushion. When the men arrive at Danny's apartment with Kyung, they do not find the diamonds in the wheelchair cushion and become frustrated with him, beating him. Danny tricks one of the men into thinking Nancy's fake necklace is made of diamonds. Meanwhile, Jung manages to attack and eventually capture the other man. When White Tiger calls one of the gangsters, Jung answers the phone and asks him to release his friends. Meanwhile, Tony reveals to White Tiger's gang members that Kyung is the owner of the Waha supermarket if he wants his diamonds back. Kyung then appears at the market and informs Elaine about the diamond. Just then, White Tiger's men arrive and use a tow truck to destroy the supermarket. The White Tiger then informs Kyung of the location where he can return the diamonds and reclaim his friends. Kyung seeks assistance from the police. They give Kyung recording equipment and instruct him to show the gangsters only one diamond in order to get the gang to talk about the incident they caused. Kung meets the gangsters after robbing the diamonds, but during their meeting, he reveals that he knows their leader's name is White Tiger. Then one of the gangsters, Jordan, contacts White Tiger and requests that he find out if Kung is cooperating with the police. They transport Kung to a predetermined location and discover that he is involved with the police. White Tiger orders them to kill him, but Kung overpowers them and escapes later. The cops arrive and chase away the gangsters. White Tiger's men hijack a hovercraft and flee into the river, while Kyung and the police pursue them. The hovercraft ends up running through the streets, causing property and car damage. The hovercraft appears unstoppable, and Kyung eventually ends the chase by stealing a large sword from a museum and clamping it to a Lamborghini Cuda. He then drives it to the hovercraft, shredding and crashing it. After that, he boards the hovercraft and forces the gangsters to reveal the location of the White Tigers. Nancy, Tony, and his gang members are released and arrive at the location. Kung transports everyone, including Elaine, to a golf course where a White Tiger can be found. He runs over the White Tiger and his men, leaving the leader critically injured on the ground. In the final scene, Kyung, Nancy, Tony, and Elaine are overjoyed to have defeated White Tiger and his gang members, and the film concludes here. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.